Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, here we are again. We are so excited to be with you each and every week. And man, we just are excited to pour into you and give you the tools that will help elevate your life. And speaking of elevating your life, we have Jamie G right here with us. She is amazing. And she is the awesome founder of L.U.X.E. And L.U.X.E stands for L.ead, U.nique, extraordinary existence. She's all about you becoming unleashed and unstoppable. So Jamie, welcome. I'd love to hear even more about you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you, ladies. And if you're listening right now, I'm so excited to connect with you as well. L.U.X.E, yeah, it does. It stands for Lead a Unique, Extraordinary Existence Every Day. And so that's really where my journey, the middle of my journey, I guess I could say, started, is when I really started understanding that we really are limitless beings and we truly limit ourselves. And I think you too know that for sure. That's why you are in neuroscience, right? Is because it's really a mindset. It's really how we view the world, how we view ourselves, our past experiences, wounds, experiences. And so that is really what sets us up for success or failure. That's what sets us up to be able to build the leadership, the wealth, the career of our dreams, the life that we truly desire, that fills our hearts. And so when I realized that back in 2017, that's when I started L.U.X.E, because I wanted everybody to have a taste of that. I wanted them to know that we really could truly lead a unique, extraordinary existence every day. And that looks different from every single person.
Yeah, it's, I love the name L.U.X.E, don't you, Alex? Leanne?
Oh, yeah.
That just speaks to a woman's heart in every way. And, really getting to level up and live that existence. And it's super interesting to hear your journey and find out a little bit more about you. I would love to know more about what it is that led you to do what you're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think when we take note of our journey and we really embrace it and think through it and walk through it and decide that we want to embrace it as a part of who we are in our being, there's a reason why we walk through everything. There's a reason why we do everything. There's a reason why we've experienced the things we've experienced. It's so that we can share a piece of our greatness. It's so that we can share a piece of what God has for other people. And the moment we are able to get out of our own way, it becomes so much easier. I think you two would agree.
Yes.
So, but I was not in that place, just so you know. So if you're not in that place, you're perfectly placed right now. Because I have not been here always, for sure. When I went through a divorce, it started in 2011. Honestly, you would have found me laying on the floor in my closet, sobbing with tears and gut-wrenching, crying, because I was so afraid. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 11 years, I think. I had kids that were 6, 8, and 10 at the time. So I'd been a stay-at-home mom. I had done all the good things. I'd been the Christian girl. And all of a sudden, I am faced with the divorce that was partially my fault, right? And so that's a whole nother topic of that inner dialogue, that inner condemnation and punishment, correct? So there's that. Plus the unknown, the scary, what's going to happen. I don't even know how I'm going to provide for 3 kids. I haven't worked in 11 years, right? And it's that I have no idea what's in the horizon or how I'm going to do it.
That must have
Because
been
it was
so
so
scary. Yeah.
It was so scary. Yeah.
So scary because I can imagine, the courage it takes to face that. Actually, I can think of times in my life when I've come to similar crossroads and I didn't take action of courage. I stood on the sidelines. I held back and I paid a consequence for that. There was a price that had to be paid for that. And it was good. Like you said, we're always where we're supposed to be. We're always learning on this journey, but wow, I really appreciate you leaning into that because, I know that many of you listening right now, just like me and Alex and Jamie, are on your own journeys where it's really scary and there are decisions, big decisions that need to be made. So I can't wait to hear more. And
well, even just tapping into what you just said, Carol, is when there are times like that, and you might, if you're listening, you might be in the middle of that right now. And if you are, I just want to encourage you, lean in and ask questions and allow, because what I found, and even if you could go back to COVID, you would recognize this. Anytime during a crisis, during the unknown, during stress and anxiety and overwhelm, if we allow it, it can be an opportunity to discover the internal things that are not healed, those wounds, those beliefs, those experiences that we haven't healed, because they will rise up. But they will rise up and manifest and come forth much more clearly during those times. That's an opportunity to really witness what are things that I had no idea that were even inside of me, those self-sabotaging behaviors, those beliefs, right? Those things that I do that are holding myself back from truly becoming who I desire to be. And those opportunities can be exponential growth for you if you allow it. And it's scary and it's hard and it's unknown. I just read a quote. I'm going to have to read it. So this is such an important quote because I was like, wow, that's sums it up. It says, never be afraid to, I have to read it. Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God.
Wow.
Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to an unknown or to a known God. And that's really, I think, the fear that we have is we feel like we have to do it all. We feel like we have to know what's going to happen. And the truth is we don't. We don't know the second from right now what's going to happen in just 1 minute, right? And we saw that very clearly in COVID, like the world shut down in an instant over one night. And we had no idea. Could we have controlled that? No, we had no control over that. And so when we learn to control and focus on the things we can control, which are our behaviors, our beliefs, how we react in our actions. And when we control those and focus on those and release the outcome, know that we are enough to actually figure it out. Either way, we're going to survive and we're going to grow. And we are going to become who we become as we walk through that journey. Right? The person that we were created to be. And so during those moments, I just want to encourage you, if you're in those moments right now, leave yourself so much space and grace and allow yourself to process through, reflect, feel the feels, like feel all of the things that are going on, and then allow those to process through you so you can clear them instead of having them return and come back and cycle through. And if you're not in one of those moments right now and you can't relate because it's just not your life right now, go back to a time when it was part of your life. And just take a moment to learn the lessons, to reflect on what is it that did rise up for me that created that sabotaging behavior, that created, what was the trigger? What was happening inside of me? What was the core fear that was really creating that trigger, right, for me? Because as soon as we recognize it, again, then we can actually clear it, move on. We can rise above and make quantum leaps in our life. So either way, you're learning from yourself. You're learning along the journey. Because if we don't learn the lessons, they keep coming back around until we do.
It's true. Oh, yeah. The patterns repeat, right?
Yeah.
Jamie, I have a question that's coming to me. Our audience is a lot of high achievers. Yeah. And a lot of times high achievers, right? The external, right? The way things look right? It gets put so much value on it, right?
Yeah.
So how would you address or speak to the listener that perhaps, because, as you're saying, like, go back to those moments that maybe they don't want to go back to the moment, right? They're like, oh, but I fought through it, and right, I'm a warrior, and now I'm here, and a lot of it's created out of, yes, sure, sheer determination, which is fantastic. We want to celebrate that.
Right.
But then there's this there's this like the pull, right? There's the push and pull and resistance, which we know that this a lot of times will lead to burnout. So how do I guess what's coming, because you did say like the grace and there's the flow, like how would you invite the listener to release that, right? Release that, like what it needs to look like, and these other fears that you're saying, maybe looking like a failure and all of these negative things that are going on, to be, I guess, surrendered to what is happening and looking at it in terms of a life lesson. When you're speaking earlier, I was hearing more like this is happening for you, not to you, right? Like
100%.
Like in this sort of victim mentality versus like, oh, wow, what a gift this has been given. And I do notice having conversation with a lot of high performers, that's not an easy concept, right? Because of the fear of what it's going to, what other people are going to perceive, right? The fear of judgment and criticism and things like that. And I'll admit, I was so guilty of that before I had my burnout. And I realized at that moment, that's exactly what it was. I had a hard time surrendering to what you're sharing here today, Jamie. So I'm curious to know if you have any advice or to speak into that so that the listener can truly embrace that, either to go back and celebrate those lessons and also step forward if they are in that moment of that right now.
100%, Alex. And that was a great question, because I actually coach a lot of really high achieving women. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that own their own $1 million businesses, CEOs. And so I work with a lot of high achieving women. Like that's my passion. And those are the people that I've seen so many tendencies. As high achieving women, we feel like we have to have this many times, a proving energy. We're very competitive because we have to prove that we're enough. We have to prove that we are worthy. We have to prove that we can do it, right? And it's
so
true.
true.
Like, I'm just, am I speaking to anybody? Because I'm a high achiever as well. All of these things are inside of me. That's why I can recognize them. And it took that path that I took in 2011 to literally take it out from under me and help me recognize. And so what I see with so many high achieving women, first of all, is we're afraid. And I say we because I feel like every woman has witnessed this, has felt this. And it is part of what commands our direction. It's part of what has us holding back and playing small, right? It is that fear of failure is a huge one. Fear of being judged or criticized, not being enough, being misunderstood, making somebody else feel small. All of these things lend to us playing smaller, but they also lend to this imposter syndrome. They lend to us proving energy, to forcing our way into this path where we're recognized for who we truly are.
Wow.
And what I see also, though, is, and I think you ladies, like just from this conversation, there's a higher level of leadership.
Yes.
There's a space where you realize it's not about you. It's not about proving and competing. It's about creating and collaborating and being a vessel for God. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just like, when I realize that, it releases so much pressure and stress. And not only that, when we learn to release control and not have to know the outcome, again, it releases that pressure and stress to do, to strive, to feel. And I created a program, my signature program, which is super funny because it's called Unstoppable, which, but it's activating your extraordinary power, right? I was like, it's so aligned for me to be here with you ladies today. But I created that specifically for everybody, but just to walk through, it's a process, it's a system to help you walk through really healing any beliefs, behaviors, those kinds of things, but also to reignite your energy, your soul passions, to also create on-demand energy and to optimize your energy, like extract the things that are extracting energy from you, add more into your life of what really truly brings you life. But it was interesting. The reason I'm going to come back full circle, because I was actually doing a 4-day leadership conference with a bunch of dentists. And I presented a piece of the program. And at the time, it was very new. Like I hadn't even created the course yet. I was just developing it. And I have, 5 different operating systems and 5 different, what I call primal instincts. That's your reactions. It's how you act when you are being triggered. And I only had 4 at the time. And I was speaking with all of these, they have multi-million-dollar practices, these dentists. And I was speaking with them and I was presenting these different ways that we react in crisis, in everyday trauma, like everyday things that happen that we experience that trigger us. Like it's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And, but we just learn to self-regulate better as we learn, right? But when I was presenting these, I had all these really high achieving owners, right, at this leadership conference. And all of a sudden I started hearing them using terms like they weren't relating to the others, because it was like they weren't relating to, for example, a victim. So many people go into victimhood, right? Many people go into self-sabotage. Many people go into detaching. So they weren't relating to these things, but what they were relating to, because it happened to be during COVID, is helping others, putting everybody first, doing more. How could they do it? What, right? Basically, it was the overachiever. That is also a default pattern. That is also a self-sabotaging behavior that we don't realize.
We talk about that. So I love this. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know. Right. And so I was like, oh my gosh, there's all of these really high achievers that don't relate to some of these other things, but they have patterns that are still truly holding them back internally, externally, mentally, and they can't live the life and have the career of their dreams because internally they're constantly struggling and trying to do and trying to create more and trying to be enough. And so I would say for those people, for those high achievers, it's okay. Give yourself grace, because there's a whole nother level where you get a release into who you truly are without striving. There's no grinding and striving that is necessary. Right.
And so when we're speaking our language, isn't she? L.U.X.E, like we literally just did a series of podcasts on the very things you're talking about. But I really want to lean in and just, highlight the fact that it's your expression of what we talk about. It's Alex and I's individual expression that may reach you to hear this message in a way that benefits you and, really brings you forward. And that's what we get so excited about, is what you're doing with your program is very much in alignment with the programs that Alex and I have and the coaching that we do. And each of us out there doing this just is a huge proponent of abundance, prosperity, that collaboration you were talking about, spreading these tools so that wherever you are on the spectrum, you have the help that you need to be unstoppable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what's so beautiful. And I love the fact that you're bringing up the brain patterns that a high achiever has that may look very different in what they're used to dealing with in their level of leadership, but is still holding them back. It's still driving the ship and keeping them blocked and becoming the glass ceiling. And so it's super powerful. Thank you so much.
No, absolutely. Well, and what I would add to that is there's just so much freedom for you. If you're listening to this and you're feeling like you have to strive, if you're feeling like you're in that hamster wheel of just continuing to reach and reach and reach and reach, and you've lost touch with the true joy of life. You've lost touch with yourself, that connection, that deeper connection with you, with others, with God. If you've lost some of those things, if you feel burned out, if you feel numb, right? Yeah. Numb's a big one, because numb is something that we do just because we don't want to feel the bad stuff. We don't want to recognize what's really going on in our life or internally. We're just stuffing it down. Yeah. And here's what I want to say. If you're a high achiever, it doesn't mean you're less than if you recognize some patterns in yourself. It means that you can become you can make even more quantum leaps when you release the need for everybody to see you as perfect, when you release the need to be perfect. Perfectionism is such a misnomer. Like, you can't be perfect.
Yes.
And all it does is hold us back from our true potential. And so I just want to, release you right now and just have so much grace for yourselves to allow yourself to be a human being. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to let go and release the ego just for a minute. We all have it. I'm just telling you, we all have the ego. So when I'm talking about it, it's not like, oh, well, I don't have an ego, right? Like, it's not that. We all have an ego. And it comes in at different times, especially to protect us from things that we might be afraid of, things that we might be uncomfortable with, things that we might not have worked through. The ego is there to protect us many times. And when we just allow that softness with ourselves and the ability to have that grace, it's huge. It's literally like a ninja strategy to go to the next level and to break through, because what we have is these invisible barriers. They're barriers. And we're like, I don't understand why I can't go further, faster. I don't understand what's holding me back right now. It's you. It's an invisible barrier of your mindset, of your internal beliefs. And I can guarantee, if you just allow yourself to take a moment and release and think and feel and reflect, there's so much growth in that for you. And there's so much freedom. Like, do you want freedom? Like, right here, right now, that's how you get it. You just let go of having to be perfect. You let go of having to be what everybody else thinks you should be, or what you think you should be, or what you were told you were supposed to be all of your life. Let go. Let go. Like, there's so much freedom in that.
Wow. I love that. I don't know if you have a question, Alex Leanne, but one that comes to mind for me that I'd love to lean into based on what you've built, this beautiful picture that you've built for us, is talking about the energy piece, because I know, well, I can definitely relate to the perfectionism piece. A recovering perfectionist is me.
Too.
So, and you know, that negative internal self-talk, that inner critic that comes up, but the energy piece, that's exciting, because this baggage that we carry around that's operating in our subconscious is wearying, it's heavy, and we don't even realize it. And so I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, the energy management piece became such a big part of my program that I actually have decided to do it on its own, because I'm going to be launching Velocity, which is all about energy management, because it is so crucial. If you were in a place where you were burned out, exhausted, overwhelmed, or if you're in a place where you feel trapped and you don't know what to do next, many times in those places we're exhausted, like you were talking about, Carol, like exhausted internally, mentally, physically. And what I found, and for me, I'm an introvert. I don't know if any of y'all are out there, but a lot of us introverts are actually do a lot of forward-facing things with people, which means we have to protect our energy to be able to show up at our fullest, right? To show up in our fullest essence. Otherwise, we don't. We are less than when we show up at on stage or in a podcast or, in a huge group and an event. And so when we learn to protect our energy, we can have on-demand energy. We can optimize that energy. But when we're exhausted and tapped out, we can't do any of that. And so that's why the energy management piece became so crucial to me, because I realized it is basically the first piece that you need to start with so that you can do everything else, so that you can tap into even more, so that you can reach your next level. And so that's why, because just even a small example, I realized like I have Hashimoto's. And so during this really highly stressful time, there would be times on the weekends where I would just be laid out with it was like flu-like symptoms and I couldn't get out of bed, but it was because I had depleted myself. And the Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease. So it was kind of like taking over and just saying, nope, you're going to rest whether you want to or not. Right. So I had to learn some techniques to be able to sleep better, because I realized that sleep was really crucial during this time. And what I found was when I started making sleep a priority over everything else, I started implementing those things that that I didn't necessarily, were not convenient. It's not convenient to stop emails and get off my computer at 6:00 at night. It's not convenient to, my kids laugh. I turn down my lights starting at like 6:37, just to kind of get that more of that sundown feel. And so it kind of resets my system. It's not convenient to do some of these things, right? But what I realized is because I did that one thing for energy management, it propelled me forward in my creativity, my productivity. I was less reactive. I was more motivated. Can you imagine when you do these kinds of things, you change one thing in your life and it propels everything else forward?
Yes.
That's when I realized, I was like, wow. And then I realized, okay, even moving forward as an introvert, I want to show up as my fullest expression, but I can't do that unless I manage my energy. And that's a huge piece of actually making quantum leaps in your businesses, in your wealth, is learning, okay, I know I'm going to have this big event coming up. How do I need to prepare myself ahead of time? Right? What do I need to do to nourish myself? I think it's Brendan Burchard that says the 3 days before you do anything, those 3 days before is how you feel today. Whatever you did, those habits, those things, how you ate, how you, right? Did you exhaust yourself mentally? Were you on Twitter or Instagram for like hours, mentally exhausting your brain already, right?
Yeah.
And did you get sleep? Did you, like, if you're an extrovert, were you around people that charged you up? If you're an introvert, did you take some time to come back inside and just allow some space and quiet so you could prepare and be the best for that event? And then during the event, how can you manage yourself, right? I know when I'm at a 3-day full-on event, I have to manage myself so that, again, I can show up, get the most out of the event, but also show up as the presenter I need to be. And then after the event, I know not to plan another big event right back to back. I need time and space so I can recharge and regenerate.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's noticing those simple things, simpler, like your habits. Maybe it's your environment. What environments, like natural light, being outside, or do you care? Like, does it matter if you have the fluorescent lights? Those things will either charge our energy or lack, right?
Yeah.
How is our space? Is it clean? Is it organized? Is it in alignment with how we feel and who we are? Because when our space is in alignment, like Carol, I love your space back there. It's beautiful. I know that you just set intention, and Alex, I love it. But again, this feels like you, it feels right. That feels, all of our spaces look different because that's who we are. And it is an external, like, extension of our internal being. And so when we can do that and create that space around us, that also energizes us and creates more creativity in whatever we do. That creates retreats wherever we go. And so it could be that noticing
I love that.
Yeah, it's true though. We don't think about these things, but they really will either extract or bring us energy and creativity and productivity and motivation.
Yeah.
Same thing with internal versus, or introvert versus extrovert. When we recognize the differences, we can use those to our advantages, right? Things like that. Those are all the things that I deal with. And I really train at somebody's system for energy management so that you can be your fullest expression wherever you go.
I love this.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do have a question because for listeners like me who have young children at home, or just, I'm thinking of, even if you are going to like a 3-day workshop, right, where you are looking to have some extra energy, right? Because energy is a choice, right? Yep. And sometimes we have little humans around the house.
A 3-year-old
right?
and a 6-month-old. Yes.
So is there anything in particular, like anything that you could just, I guess share with me even, right? Like we're actually in the process of sleep coaching Amelia. I'm so excited about that, right? Because it's like, everything you're saying, it's like, operating without that full tank of sleep really impacts like everything, right? And you kind of forget about that. And for the listener, if you haven't had children, or maybe your children are all grown up, like when you're in the moment of it, it's like you really value that sleep and the contribute, like how much it contributes to your energy and things like that. So I was just curious, since got you here, Jamie, like, is there anything for those moments, or if you have young children
no, I love that. I love that you asked, because we all have different phases in our life, right? Mm-hmm. And it's so for example, you kind of got used to having one child. Am I correct?
Yep.
And you kind of were able to, And then you have another child. So that introduces a whole nother level. Like I remember when I had my second child, and I was I don't know if anybody can, well, yeah, y'all can relate because you're overachievers and high achievers, but I was so OCD, like with my first child, that poor thing, like his traits today are really,
Same.
we created that at that moment. Because like the minute something would drop, we would sterilize it. The minute, like, right. Like he barely touched the ground. Right. And then my second child came. And she was like all over the place. There was no possibility that I could keep up possibly. Like with my first, I could just work harder. I could do things right. With my second, it just flew out the door. There was just no possibility. Yeah. And so in those times, we just, first of all, again, going back to that grace, have to have grace for ourselves. Second of all, we need to stop overcommitting. That's a huge piece. When we overcommit, then we feel like a failure, and but the reality is our environment has changed. We have to recognize that and then look at what's most important first. We call it win. What's most important next? And we might just have 3 priorities that day, right? But we get the most important things done, and the most important things that will move the needle for us or make us feel more fulfilled. Those are the things we focus on instead of the 10 things that we feel like we have to do or should do. So number 1, like, give yourself grace. Number 2, know your priorities and stop overcommitting, because that's when we will feel unsuccessful. That's when we will feel internally exhausted, because we can't possibly keep up with what we used to when we had 1 child versus 2. And this applies to any situation you're in. When you're introducing a new component, reevaluate.
Yeah.
Right now, in this space and this time, what is most important? What will I feel most fulfilled with? And maybe what is one goal I'm trying to move forward? And what's that needle moving thing that I need to do today? Yeah. Because what happens is you are going to be exhausted, and learning new patterns. Like, take a look at, when is your child sleeping? When is the other child sleeping? When are there opportunities to rest? And your rest may not be a full sleep, but it may be a mental space that you just clear, a meditation space for 20 minutes to recharge and clear all of the energies that you've just been exposed to with all of the demands, right?
Well, and as you're speaking, Jamie, I mean, for the audience, like, everything you're saying applies to you as a leader, right? Like
100%.
Whether or not it's children, whether or not it's team, whether or not it's a business, like everything you've said, like everything I'm like, that applies everywhere. And I also take it to heart also with my 2 littles right now. But thank you for sharing that, because it's a beautiful reminder, and creating that space for you, right? First, right? Putting your oxygen mask on first before everybody else. Right. So I love that reminder. And I'm sure the audience as well really appreciates that reminder. Right. So thank you.
Well, I don't mind the euphemism. For me, a classic overachiever, deep wiring in my brain on this that I get to continue to repattern is, if it's not a hell yes, it is a hell no. And that has been something, because of the euphemism around that has grabbed my attention enough that when I'm in the moment, I can ask myself that question. And I remember when Alex and I were talking about that, when she was being presented with something, and I asked her that question, and she was like, it's a yes, but it wasn't a hell yes. Yeah. And so just being able to ask ourselves those questions, I think, is so powerful and so important. And I love the way that you put it, that we're guarding our energy, we're protecting the space so that we do have the capacity to do the things that we want to do. And if we're having trouble, what have we committed to? What have we, overcommitted to? What have we gotten in our way that isn't leaving us with the capacity to perform at the high level we're meant to perform at? So thank you 100%. For that.
Yeah. And as high achievers, we have a tendency to overcommit, because we want to be there for everybody. We want to lead. We want to provide, right? We want to be the go-to, and we don't want to let anybody down. And here's the thing is, when we do that, we let ourselves down, we let our families down, and we still let them down because we're still not serving them at the fullest capacity that we can, that our potential allows for. So I would encourage everybody, reevaluate, like, at least every 3 months, like, what is most important now? Not 6 months ago, not, a year from now. What's most important these next 3 months?
Yeah.
And commit only to those things and filter through those things versus filtering through, oh, it's such a great opportunity. Like, we don't want to lose out. But what we don't realize is we're not ever going to lose out. The things you're meant to experience, things you're meant to do, are going to be placed perfectly in our path, in the perfect time, the perfect flow. And so we just need to release into that trust.
You're speaking my language. Yes, you are speaking my language, because the FOMO rises up, right?
It does.
I've got this opportunity, I've got this possibility. And if I don't take advantage of it, what regret am I going to live with? And wow, that's really beautiful. Just the reminder that we're in the exact right place at the exact right time. That's really powerful.
And I think something I was just saying, it supported me with that, like, especially with not saying dulling things, but, just taking some time for my family right now, is that just reminding myself that if it was meant to be, it'll come back around.
Yeah.
And and my moment will come, right? Because I know I've shared that with Carol before, like, with all these opportunities, and I just kept saying, like, what the priority is at the moment, and trusting and surrendering, like, the opportunity will come back around. The opportunity will come back around. I think as high achievers, right, we do often feel like it's got to be now. And, if that was the right opportunity, right, then it will definitely come back around. And then the moment when you step into whatever it is, or say yes at that next moment, that is the right moment. And I do believe, as high achievers, when things are coming at us, there's like this pride thing, and there's an ego, right?
Oh, for sure.
And yet it doesn't mean that
we're risk takers. We can handle this.
Yeah, we can figure this out.
We can do it. We can do it all.
We can do it all, right? And that's the program. That's the pattern. So I know I have been really stretching in this other area of this creation of space. And so, I would say that I'm hearing this from a very different perspective. But if had you spoken to me, even maybe a year ago or something, I would have showed up differently. And Jamie, it's leading into something you said earlier, like, it's just you're showing up differently in your leadership. And that really is what shows in your leadership and on your leadership journey, where you're at, right? Are you still operating from, oh my goodness, like, I got to say yes to everything and this pressure? Or are you, taking aligned action with what's important to you in your priorities right now, and trusting that the opportunities will present themselves? Like, it doesn't have to be a right now, right? It could be, not right now, right? It's like, it's a yes and future, right? It doesn't have to be here in this very moment. So thanks for reminding us and revisiting that for us.
Well, we've all experienced it, right? I mean, we just have. Let's be honest. And Alex, what I would encourage you right now too is, I love that you're leaning into this, because it's hard, because we see everybody else doing the things and we see everybody else taking action, and we're like, we're supposed to do that. And the truth is, that's just not your space right now. And what I also want to encourage you is, lean in and allow and receive during this time. Because what I've noticed for myself is, I was getting frustrated for years. And for me, I'm getting ready to turn 52 in February. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. But I was, I'm getting ready to turn 52. And for years, I knew I was not reaching my potential, because I was that internal resistance, that self-sabotage, right? And I was like, but I'm ready, God, like, it's time. It's like, I felt like I was missing opportunities and they were passing me by, or whatever it was. And what I found was, all of that time was not wasted. It was me getting prepared for what I needed to do, because the next level was going to be so much more extreme and intense and higher, that I wasn't ready for that yet. But I was learning everything I needed and gathering all of it up so that I was going to be like, that quantum leap can happen for you in an instant, as soon as it is time, because now you've grown into the woman, you've grown into the man, you've grown into these, some of these places where maybe like you didn't have the capability of where you're going to have the capacity to actually succeed at your highest level. Not because you were less than, because you didn't have the experience, or you didn't have the grace to teach other people. You learning that grace for yourself is what's going to help you teach other people that grace. It's going to help other people have that grace, because you're now giving them permission. Be like, you know what? I've been there. I've
never heard it put that way. That is so incredibly powerful. I've literally got goosebumps, Jamie.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
But, one of the things I love about L.E.N is she runs circles around the majority of people. She's a university professor. She's a leader and trainer of leaders. She's a coach of coaches. And so what her capacity is compared to maybe anybody else that hasn't expanded yet to that level, it looks different, right? And for her to be able to prioritize her family right now, Alex, I know you don't mind me talking about this, has been a real retraining of her brain, reprogramming of, what she is in the pattern and habit of doing. And so this is incredible for both of us. But yeah, I know this has got to be amazingly helpful, right, Alex?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it's true. As leaders, we have a certain capacity, but the funny thing is there's always more. There's always more. Yeah. And whatever level we're going to, we're going to have a whole nother level of capacity, right?
Yeah.
And so I know, Alex, like you are just incredible. Like you're such an achiever. And yet sometimes your growth would be in the release of the control of having to do and be and do it all. Right? Yeah. Sometimes our growth is like what other people are good at. We have to learn that part because we've been achieving all these years. And now we're like, oh, you mean I have to be kind to myself? You mean I have to like begin
That's my
to
word for the years, love. That's my word.
It's true, for 2024 though. Like sometimes we have to learn those things that other people, it's like a no-brainer. But we've been achieving. And now we have to go back and learn, oh, this is what self-care really looks like in this environment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can definitely relate to this as well. It's like ongoing journey, right? Of being able to, be in the work of continuing to understand how hard we are on ourselves and how much we have this internal wiring of the self beat up. And so, yeah, this is so amazing. So
there's a term I coined that's is adaptive dynamic control. So we all want to control. Like that's just everybody's more comfortable when they're in control. Mm-hmm. That's how we feel comfortable. What we realize as we grow into leadership and as we grow into our next level is control is a misnomer. Like you can't control anything really except yourself, and you can't control other people. You can't, right? And so when we release the control, there's so much freedom in that, which we already spoke about. But what I call is, adaptive dynamic control, meaning we have dynamics all around us, and it could be our environments changing like Alex. It could be external factors in a job that are really high stress. So we have all of these dynamics around us. And then we have the adaptability, and that's what we learn as we grow, as we evolve, as we get to that higher level, is we learn the adaptability to adapt to any dynamics so that we have an empowered, control over that, right? It's that self-regulation piece that we learn that is so crucial to a higher level of success, a higher level of leadership, a higher level of release into the freedom of who we truly are and not having to prove anything anymore. And it's a daily practice. I'm going to just say it, like, it is not something that we learn and we all of a sudden apply and now we're really good at it and we never have to go back. Right? It is a daily, sometimes an hourly thing of, okay, I have to reset and recenter myself and align with who I truly am so that I'm not reacting, right? I'm not reacting to all these external factors. I'm not trying to be or do something else, but I'm just enjoying. I'm in this calm confidence and walking to my authentic power, showing up as the true essence, the open, vulnerable truth of who I am. And how can I serve in that capacity? How can I show up in that capacity where I'm just a vessel and things are flowing in and out, and I'm simply receiving what God wants me to receive from the people around me, the external factors, and I'm also sharing what He wants me to share so that I can contribute a higher level of knowledge and wisdom. My knowledge and wisdom is so limited, right? But what I realized when I did Limitless and I went through that journey is we have all of the resources, if we allow it, that God has. We have all of the favor, all of those things that God has. We have access to those if we allow it. But so often we try to do and serve and be in our human side that's that piece of it's never going to be quite enough because it just is human, right? Versus if we release into this being just the vessel of what flows in and out, and we contribute in a servant-hearted way, there's so much more expansion there for us. There's so much more wisdom for other people. And the experience of life is so much bigger because it's an adventure. You have no idea what's going to happen next.
It's so true. It's so true. And just stepping into our highest potential through that, through the connection with our spiritual side, through, receiving the energy too. And thinking from it in the quantum realm, we know we're all energy, right? We are all connected, and just being able to be open to God, our source, and to what's available to us, that abundance, that prosperity, that full life that we deserve because we're valuable and we matter, is something that I really appreciate and love speaking into, because, this is where we can really expand and be in our highest self, be flourishing, be in thrive mode rather than slipping back into survive mode and in the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn and trying to figure out life. And so thank you, Jamie. This is really, really beautiful.
So much fun. I love having a conversation with you ladies. It's so powerful.
Is there
any
final words, any final thought that you'd like to share with our audience today as we wrap up here?
Yeah, if you're interested, and if this isn't going to be for everybody, but it will be perfect for some of you that are listening, is I have an Extraordinary Power Masterclass. It's free. You can also do VIP, but it's an experience where you can just come in, and it's geared to really help you make quantum leaps. It's geared to help you find the calm, the confidence, the clarity, and it's geared to really high achieving people, those high achievers that really do want more, and yet there's this invisible barrier that's holding them back. So really reawakening also that deeper connection. So it's really going to be about unlocking the secrets, to your next level, that formula that I use. And so I'd love to invite you in if you'd like to be a part of it. It's going to be phenomenal. Even if you're, maybe I know some women are like, I'm kind of feeling a little insecure about my age. Am I still going to be relevant? Do I still have something to offer? I hear that from high achieving women still all the time I fear for my CEO position, right? Because I'm becoming older. I'm a woman. I hear some of these things, and it's really how can you tap into becoming relevant in any environment, right? So it's really that extraordinary power of walking in our confidence, walking in that calm authority of who we were chosen to be, who we really are, walking forward in that favor of what God has created us to have, and embracing that, and stop worrying about what other people think, what failure might look like, right? What if we fail? So this is on my heart because I have this movement that I really want to invite other people, other women into. And it's really, if you have felt like there's a piece of you that has been holding back, sliding under the radar, if there's a piece of you that knows, that there's more, but you haven't totally tapped into it because you don't know what would happen if you did. You don't know what to expect. You don't even know how to do it. If there's a piece of you that's a high achiever and you still know you are sliding in the radar, because that was me 2 years ago. I was like, I know I'm an achiever, but I also know that there's pieces of me that I'm not sharing. There's pieces of me that I'm not doing. There's things that I should be creating. There's ways I should be showing up in a bigger, bolder way. So if you're ready for your more, truly ready for your more, you're done with your normal, you're done with just, being an achiever and being driven, but you also know that there's if you're done with just the piece of comfort, the piece of, if you want your more, if you want your fullness and everything that you were created to be, to begin to step into that together with a community of women that are wanting to do that same piece. I just want to invite you into the masterclass, because it's just to me a very fun conversation, but it'll be filled with strategic ninja tips to begin to break through those barriers that are truly holding you back from your next level.
Ninja tips, baby.
Yeah, I love that.
Ninja tips.
I love it.
That's right.
So if you want to join me, you can join me. It's at LUXEveryday.com. So it's LUXE everyday.com/EP, which stands for Extraordinary Power. And I would love to have you. It'll be just a really fun, powerful conversation where we get real. We talk about what really is holding back. What are the lies that are truly holding high achieving women back? And what is the more for you? And really beginning to have the confidence to step into that and the tools to step into that.
Wow. This is so amazing. Thank you so much. And, we're going to have this for you in the show notes with the links that Jamie has, including the one she just mentioned, to go to LUXE. You said, say that again, Jamie.
Yeah. LUXEveryday.
LUXEveryday.com/EP. So we will have that for you there so that you can step into your extraordinary power. And we just,
right?
Right. Next level.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
next level. It's what it is, truly. No matter where you're at, there's always a next level.
Yeah.
And let's just do it. Would it be okay with you, if you're listening, that we save you hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of struggle just trying to get there? Can I save you strife? Can I save you struggle? Because really, let's just make quantum leaps together, what we were talking about today. Let's, instead of going for that 2.0 version, let's go for the 10.0 version, because we've already learned the stuff and I can get you there faster and quicker without all of that. So that is really let's step in, ladies, together with our more full on, full out, no longer holding even an ounce back of how you were created to be. And let's explore that together. That is so exciting to me. Let's explore. We don't know what that even looks like because it's been untapped, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah.
It's very true. It's a great point.
Yeah. Ladies, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. I really appreciate you. You are both just incredible human beings. First of all, I just want to start there because I feel like that's most important, is your hearts and your humanness and your centeredness and wanting to create a better world and impact. And then also just the fire sauce that y'all bring, right? That neuroscience, amazingness. I just want to honor you and thank you for having me on today, because these are the conversations I love to have, is other powerful women and men, really in a heart-centered place where we can take it to the next level, but at that next level leadership we were talking about, where it's not about us. It's not about us.
Yeah. It's really about impacting and serving with the tools that we have been gifted with, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for being here, for sharing all of this powerful wisdom with us, these golden nuggets, and giving each of us a place to go to work with you and receive the tools that you have available. I think this is something that we're so excited to bring to you, and for you to know that we're here for you, and we love bringing you this fabulous information each and every week. Any final thoughts or words, Alex Leanne?
Just, it's been such an honor to have you, Jamie. And I really feel that the audience, you've spoken to so many things that the audience will, there's lots, and just so many little takeaways. So thank you so much, Jamie, for being here and the reminders and taking a stand for the high achievers, and also seeing that next level and being untapped into the greatness of what the leader and the listener gets to create. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to the listener for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast. And we'll see you all next week.
Ciao for now.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review, and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.